Yeah, it's Cash. Get him. DJ Deuce McGuire, this hot as a log fire. Spark the lighter in the 303. We wrestle at the quarry. Golden, Colorado. Mercury Pro Wrestling Academy. Elevated wrestling. Yeah. Hashtag follow if you know the motto. Can't stop now. Got the need for speed. Combustion and concussion. Championships in my vision. I put the key in the ignition. Such an easy decision. I got a hustler's ambition. Wrestling at its best. Welcome to the show I put on for Rocky Mountain Pro. Let's go.
RMP Radio is back on the air. Hi, I am your host, Mr. Fourth Row, and joining me on this edition of RMP Radio, I have the Vibe of RMP, Brad Radowski. Brad, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm just kind of winding down from the day. I got my my diffuser on with my cedarwood and orange essential oil. I got my passion flower tea. I feel pretty mellow. I'm pretty happy, man.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. So like we do here on RMP Radio, we get to know a little bit more about the person behind the wrestler. And outside of the wrestling game, you had told me that some of the things that you enjoy, namely when it comes to maybe along the same lines as wrestling, is athletic endeavors, and that's fitness and yoga. How did you get into enjoying that, and I guess especially the yoga part?
So believe it or not, before the Vibe, I actually used to be a very angry young child. So out of anger, I actually discovered yoga. So my mom back in Illinois, she owned a place, and I was pretty young and fragile-minded. I'm like, oh, yoga's for girls. It's sissy. I'm never going to do it. And like, I used to work as a receptionist for my mom as a yoga, like when she owned the studio and everything. And then I was going through like this bad like high school breakup as a kid, and like that's a long story. I won't go on a tangent on, but my mom's like, why don't you just come into yoga class and like just mellow out? Because I was telling her, she's like, my mom's the same. Like she hears me out on any subject like ever, and I was like, you know what? Like I'll give it a whirl. Why not? And it was kind of like midway through the class. It's like one of those things you discover you're very passionate about. Like you can't put in words, you just feel, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so as soon as I was done, I felt like I just had like an out-of-body experience and like an epiphany. I was like, I really love this. I want to continue on doing this too. And I had to be like 14 or 15 at the time, and that was like 12 years ago. And ever since then, I was kind of on and off with it. And like when I traveled and moved to different places, I did it like on and off. And then as soon as I was living in Hawaii, actually, I started getting like more serious in it and like started doing it like every other day or daily, if you will. And then I actually moved back home to go into this yoga teacher training program to get certified as a teacher. And then I actually spent some time over in India as well, studying over there for about 2.5 months. And then I just fell in love with it. Like it definitely changed my perception of how I look at things, like my self-awareness, my attitude towards things, and just it made me into a calmer human being and like so much more things.
That's fantastic. So what are the most things that you really enjoy about practicing yoga?
I kind of get to like cancel out of the world. Every time I step on my mat, I feel like just my mat and me, that's the only thing that exists right now, and my breath. And just paying. And so usually in yoga, you'll usually have what's called a mantra, or like something you have an intuition for. And it's like, it could be anything. It could be like bettering yourself in some different way, shape, or form, or just like focusing on your breath. I commonly do that. Or if there's something like a big impact in my life, I'll try to make that like the primary focus, and then like just slowly move around with the movement. And then it definitely taught me to be flexible, which is a huge benefit in the ring as well.
Yeah.
And it's just a good way to clear the mind too, because it's like, again, like we're all human, we go through things, and life can definitely like bring us down in like some way, shape, or forms, or like overwhelm us. And I definitely feel similar to wrestling as well. It's like when I go on my mat or like the ring or whatever, it's like I forget about those problems for a bit, and then I just benefit myself by just practicing and then going on with the day and just having a way more clear sense of mind, if you will.
Yeah. I get that. I've taken a few classes, and that's one thing that they do like preaching, is that all you need to worry about is, being there, letting, that being the only thing that you're basically concentrating on is movements and being in the moment, just that particular moment.
Exactly. Be here now. You probably you hear that quite a bit in this generation nowadays.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So then, what about the fitness aspect? You said you're really into the fitness. What do you enjoy about that, or what do you like to focus, or what kind of excites you when it comes to that?
So very similar to yoga as well. I find it very meditative. Like as soon as I walk in, and I work out by myself, I prefer it that way. Just because it's like if I meditate, I don't want to conversate with people. That's like kind of the same way how I feel with like going into a gym. As soon as I walk in, I put my headphones on. I just focus what I need to do, and then I just kind of get in that zone and that flow. You know what I mean? And I love lifting weights too, especially like I started switching up my workouts a little bit because like when I was getting into wrestling, I couldn't surpass my weight for the life of me, and I just like hit up one of my friends who's a kinesiologist. I'm like, what do I have to do to just like naturally get bigger? He was like, just calorie surplus and do more weight and less reps. And I used to always do like 3 sets of 10 for like 8 or 9 years. And like, I didn't really see too much progress because I think like the muscle memory just kind of took over. And then I just started taking this different route. And like within a few months, like I just saw like drastic changes. And I was like, oh my God, like all I had to do was like tweak this one switch in order to get these results. And especially like the endorphins and like the dopamine you create, like after like moving or exercising in some way, shape, or form, you like science backs it up. You can't like compare it to anything. And I get that from working out and doing yoga, being out in nature, hiking. Like there's so many ways that you can obtain it. It's really about like finding what suits you and what you can get into, because there's so many ways that you can be active, especially in today's world. Like there's so many different forms of yoga. There's so many different forms of weightlifting. Like it's such a versatile thing that you can sink your feet into and just be like, oh, I really like this. I'm going to incorporate this in my life. And that thus like over time it benefits you and it becomes a habit at that point.
Right. Yeah. And like you were just mentioning, and I seen this somewhat recently pop up a lot in some social media stuff that I've seen, is that every once in a while people are doing their training, their fitness routines, etc., and they're just kind of not quote unquote like plateaued at a certain point of something. Like they're looking good, but they just need a little bit more. And then this one example, for example, this woman that I follow on social media, she looked good, but she wasn't getting any basically any mass or definition for her fitness. And her trainer or somebody mentioned like you probably just need to load up a little bit more carbs. And she took a before and after picture of doing a little more training, and then she was starting to get definition like in her arms and her legs versus just being tone. And so it's you kind of mentioned this, and so sometimes there's just a little bit something special or extra unique that everybody needs to do that just kind of meet their fitness goals. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And it's funny you bring that up too about like the calorie surplus, because I actually used to be vegan for 3.5 years, and again, like just being very active, especially like when I decided to be vegan when I was living in Hawaii, and I was doing like everything from like labor farm work to surfing to lifting weights and yoga. Like literally I was doing something almost every hour of the day. But like, and it's nothing against like a plant-based diet or anything, because I still like load up on fruits, vegetables, grains, etc. Like that's a huge primary aspect of my diet, but I always felt lethargic. And I totally believe in like everyone is biologically built different, just like over time, because it's like there is no one size fit all like workout or like diet or anything. Like everyone's body adapts differently to it. Mm-hmm. And I totally accepted that. And then like not recently, I'd say like last April, I started incorporating meat back in my diet. And this is when I was telling you about the calorie surplus and the more weight, less reps. And I didn't even like do a calorie surplus. I just added like more like good meats in my diet. Like I started eating bison and fish and like organic chicken. And within a month and a half, I went from 145 to 167 pounds.
Yeah. And
I was like, oh, and it was so crazy. Like I'd never seen results like that quick. And I wasn't like taking anything or like eating like an extra meal or anything. I literally just incorporated meat back in my diet, and I was like, oh, my body was like missing like these good fats, these macros, etc. And I felt good too, because when I was vegan and I was like about to eat meat, I was like, oh god, I'm gonna die, like just some ridiculous like concept, and then like I felt just way better about myself. And it's like, I believe like diet is definitely like a huge portion of like the fitness like goal and whatever you want to achieve. And it's like, you can cheat every now and then. It's like, if you want to eat a pizza, like have a slice of pizza, but just don't do it every day. It's like, don't be like too hard on yourself all the time. You got to have fun with life.
Yeah, that's very true. I definitely see that. So along the same lines, you've kind of hinted and mentioned it a little bit. You have one thing that you told me about is that a lot of you have moved around a lot, living nationally and internationally. Where all have you lived?
Oh man, I almost lose count sometimes. No, I'm just kidding. But I was born and raised in a south suburb of Chicago called Tinley Park, Illinois. I've lived there for probably a little over 20 years of my life. And then I went to school in Kalamazoo, Michigan for a year, realized it wasn't for me, came back to Illinois. I actually used to ski bum out in Beaver Creek about 6 years ago. So I was working on the mountain over there and then just like literally snowboarding like every day. That was so much fun. Actually just got done snowboarding yesterday. Then I moved back home again from Illinois. I kind of like boomerang back and forth. And then I got involved in this relationship with this girl. And then we were about a year in and we're like, oh, let's do something crazy. And like, we were both into agriculture. And I was like, let's go to Hawaii and like go work on a farm. And she was like, yeah, I'm down with that. And what turned into a month turned into 2 years. So I lived in Big Island, Hawaii for 2 years. And then I came back home to Illinois to study yoga. I then lived in India in Kovalam for 2.5 months. Came back from that. That was such a trip to come back to, like just going from a third world country back to the United States. I was like, oh my God, like this shouldn't be like different to me, but it was, because like I had such a different pace and rhythm, if you will. And then a couple months after that, I went to Africa, where I was in Malawi and South Africa. South Africa, I just went and like gone and see some friends, and it is beautiful out there. I actually almost considered living there over Colorado. And then I did some agriculture work out in Malawi with this nonprofit group that my buddy runs. And then I moved back to Illinois. I graduated my yoga teacher training, and then I was like, okay, I'm ready to get out of Illinois. And then I was kind of like looking at my options, because at the time with like my work, I was like working remotely, so I could be like anywhere, which was really nice. And then Colorado always had like a special place in my heart, and I really miss snowboarding, to be honest. And then I was just hitting up a bunch of friends. I almost lived in Golden at one point. I almost lived in Lakewood, and then I ended up in Fort Collins for the time being. And I really miss it up there, to be honest. It's far from everything, but God, that is such a nice town, man. Really bike friendly, just a lot of cool places out there. Poudre Canyon's amazing too. And then I moved on to Centennial after that because my lease was up, and then I didn't really enjoy Centennial too much. I liked where I lived, but I didn't like the area where I lived. It was just like it seemed like a bit too suburban with me. And now I live in the Denver area, and I absolutely love it. It's relatively close to everything I do. I have a lot of flexibility, close to training in Rocky Mountain Pro, which is really nice. I don't have to sit in traffic anymore, so it's really nice just having that convenience in finding your space, if you will. But I'm probably going to stay in Colorado for quite some time.
Yeah. So with all your travels, would have been some memorable moments or memorable stories, that places that you've lived in that come top to mind?
Oof, how much time do you have? That's the thing. No, I'm just kidding. But I'd probably say Hawaii, because like I never before going there, I didn't really want to go like too much, because I was like, it's too touristy, and I usually don't like doing the touristy stuff. I kind of like just like getting a backpack and doing my own thing, if you will. And so when we went out there, we were in this little town called Captain Cook. It's south of Kona, and I just fell in love with it. I just loved how simple it was. Everyone's just super laid back for the most part, like chilling out. Like everyone's very happy and alive. You can tell the ocean's right there. The food is amazing. It is very expensive. Like that rumor is very true. But I remember like we were like 3 weeks in, and I really like said to myself, I'm like, I really don't want to go back home. Like, why would I? Like, I'm working a job I don't like. Like this girl that I was dating, we were kind of dysfunctional in a way, and like I was still living with my parents. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to try it out here, like give it a couple months. And then again, a couple months turned into 2 years, but I still keep in contact with like so many people out there. I actually plan on going back out there just for like maybe like a couple weeks, maybe a month, like in the future or so. Cause like as soon as you leave, the island calls you back, man. It really does. It has a special calling, if you will, to certain people. And like as soon as you live there and experience it and you get off, you'll get like, as crazy as it sounds, you'll get like signs and like messages to like go back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so it is basically a different environment than living on the mainland.
Absolutely, by all means. It really doesn't feel like a state at all because, like, God, I've experienced so much of it. Like, I swam with, like, packs of hammerhead sharks. I've seen lava, like, up close in my face, like, making, like, earth and, like, new land. Like, God, it's such a surreal experience. And then, like, when humpback whale season comes along, like, God, it's like you kind of have to, like, snap yourself back into reality when in the reality that is your reality, if that makes sense. And it's just like, this is where I live. Like, this is so crazy. And it's like, get up and like just go like take a snorkel before going to work. Like it's just like so surreal. Like some of the things you could do like before you have to do your adult responsibilities.
I see. That's interesting aspect of that. Yeah, that's cool. All right, and then another thing you mentioned to me that you just mentioned a little while ago, you are a avid snowboarder. What got you interested in that?
So I went on a family trip to Minnesota. I mean, like there's no mountains in Minnesota, but we just went, and I never snowboarded before, and it was either ski or snowboard. And like I want to say I was like 9 or 10 around this time. And I was like, I definitely want to snowboard, and it's a pain. It's a pain to learn at first because like it's so awkward, especially if you don't have like a skateboarding or like surfing background. Like it's definitely awkward at first. And then I just fell in love with it. And then I would just do like trips. And like I was snowboarding in the Midwest, and like the Midwest is like literally just hills covered in like snow. And then you come out to Colorado and you see mountains for the first time, and you're like, oh my God, this is so crazy. And then you go ski backcountry. You're just like, holy heck, like this is real. And I did that when I was a senior in high school. Yeah, that sounds about right. My buddy and I, we came out, we went to like Copper, Breckenridge, Vail. I remember like skiing the back bowls at Vail, and I was like, this is like heaven. And it was like a powder day where it was like 8 to 9 inches. I was like, this is real snow. Like this wasn't made in a cannon, like by like the resort or anything. Like this is as real as it's going to get. And I remember just falling in love with that. And that's kind of how I decided to go out and just work on a resort just for the heck of it. Like literally I was just a server at a restaurant, but like the perk of working for like a mountain is that you get a ski pass and you can go as many times as you want. And I remember I clocked in at like, God, I think like 62 days of the season. Like literally like on the resort, it's like you either work, sleep, eat, or ski or snowboard. Like that's the life. And it was a really good life too. And it's like, I definitely had like an epic pass too now that I live out here. Like I try to go like once a week. Like my Tuesdays or Wednesdays like are usually the days I have off, and that's what I call Bradley time. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much where I don't do anything. Like I kind of just go like liberate, and I either go to like Vail, Beaver, Breck, or Keystone. I would love to make it to Park City one of these days. I've never been over there, and it's eligible for my pass, and it's not that far of a drive either. So that might have to happen before the season's over.
Oh, well, that's cool. And I think you were kind of mentioning too. Snowboarding is a little bit different because there's a lot of movement and balance is different than like with skiing. A lot of balances with snowboarding is front to back, side to side versus like skiing sometimes just side to side and up and down.
Absolutely, and especially like the different terrains you go part. Because I like going in the trees because that's where all the good snow is. But like there could be unexpected moguls in there and just like crazy trees that are buried under so much snow. It's like you got to be so self-aware of just what you're going into, and it's exactly like how I feel with like yoga and lifting weights too. It's kind of like that flow state where I strap on my boots, and then I strap myself on my bindings, and it's like I forget about the world for a while, and I just go out and just play with Mother Nature.
Okay, and speaking of Mother Nature, one other thing that you had mentioned to me is you have an interest in gardening. So what type of gardening are you interested in?
When I was in Hawaii, that's when I started getting really big into it. Because like back home, my mom and I, we had like this like pretty big garden bed, and we just like grew like simple things like herbs, peppers, tomatoes. We actually had like a colony of bees that we attended to as well. I don't know too much about that, but I kind of like shadowed her how she did, and it's amazing making your own honey. Like, just, I really love DIY stuff, especially when it comes to food. Like, growing your own food is like such a great achievement. Mm-hmm. And so when I went out to Hawaii actually has some of the richest soil in the world because of the volcanic ash, and it's so rich in like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, which are like the key components of like keeping soil super rich. So I got to play around with a lot of different styles, and then I got into God, what is it called with the fish? Aquaponics, where you pretty much have like a garden bed on top, and then like there's this tank at the bottom. There's fish in there, and you feed the fish, and the fish's waste comes into the soil, and like there's this little like mechanism. God, it's gonna kill me what I can't remember. I haven't gardened in a while, to be honest, if you can't tell. But there's this thing that would fill up the water, and then it would keep the soil like wet, and it would fill up this like mechanism, but it would like drain it at like certain times, and your food would just be so rich. Like, I grew like strawberries in Hawaii once, and that's so hard to do just because of the tropics out there, you know, and the conditions. And I remember like coming out one day, and I was like, oh my God, I just grew strawberries, and like they had like a decent size on them, and then like I got to get a little bit of them, and then like all these chickens like kind of took them over, because there are a lot of chickens in Hawaii, and if you don't wrap your stuff, it's going to be gone very quickly.
Yeah, those chickens can. I've heard that there's a lot of chickens out in Hawaii, and chickens are scavengers. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, them, turkeys, wild boars, like anything will get into your garden and take it out. I remember we were growing these pineapple patches, and there's this pineapple. It's called the white pineapple. It literally has like this white flesh. And you can't find it on the mainland, from my knowledge. I tried like looking high and low for it, and it's literally like the champagne of pineapples, if you will. Like, it's very like it doesn't taste like a golden one at all. Like, it tastes like a sorbet. It's like it's so hard to describe. But I grew a bunch of these things, and then these damn wild boars got into them and ate them, and they take forever to grow too. And I was so bummed. I was like, no, like I gotta wait till next season to grow these things. Are you kidding me? Like, I literally had like fields of these things.
Oh wow, that's crazy. So this white pineapples, the texture is different. It's more smooth than a golden.
So it actually has the same texture. It's more of like the taste. Yeah, okay. The taste it's crazy. It's just like a light sorbet, and then you eat it. You're like, whoa, like this is a pineapple. Like, I remember coming back to the mainland, because like the golden pineapples all we're really accustomed to. I was like, yeah, this is good. I'm like, this is good, but it's not the same, man. Like, I miss those white pineapples.
Yeah, the white pineapple, white elephant is the white elephant of the fruit, I guess you could say, huh?
Very accurate analogy, my friend.
Very good parallel. All right. Well, I think that is a fantastic place to wrap up this edition of RMP Radio. But before I do let you go, if our listeners wanted to see what you're doing there on the social medias, where could they do that?
So right now I just have an Instagram, but I definitely do plan on expanding outward with other platforms. But you can find me. This is all one word too. It's the Vibe of RMP.
All right. Well, fantastic. All right. Once again, Brad, I do appreciate you coming on to this edition of RMP Radio, and everybody else, stay tuned and see what other matches he has coming up with all the Rocky Mountain Pro channels. And once again, Brad, thank you.
Hey, thank you for your time, Artie. I appreciate you.
Once again, a big thank you to Brad Radowski for coming on to this edition of RMP Radio. And like we say, get to know a little bit more about the person behind the wrestler, and check him out at each and every Rocky Mountain Pro event that we have coming up throughout the month, the year, and specifically this weekend, this Friday, February 21st, at the Quarry at the Jefferson County Fairgrounds in Golden, Colorado. We have the Charge tapings that got rescheduled that were supposed to happen at the beginning of this month, but unfortunately weather played a role and they had to be postponed. So I hope to see you guys all there. And you're probably asking yourself, well, how do I get tickets? Well, you can get tickets in advance. at rmpwrestling.com. Click on the events link, and you'll see all the events they got coming up, and you can purchase tickets right there. Get them in advance. You save yourself a little bit money there, and they will be more at the door. What about if you want to get some favorite merchandise of your favorite Rocky Mountain Pro superstars? You head over to rmpwrestling.com, click on the merchandise link, or in your Amazon search bar, you can search for Rocky Mountain Pro, and you'll find all kinds of great search. And here's a tip that I found stumbling that I was not aware of. So if you guys are on the rmpwrestling.com website, and you click on the roster, there's a few of the wrestlers that do go down from, drop down from that list. But if you click on them, the wrestlers that do have merchandise will have a link there, and some of it does not come up when you click on the merchandise link. So don't be fret if you want to get a shirt that from your wrestler that they may have a shirt, but it's just not listed in the general merchandise link from the rmpwrestling.com website. So you can get a brand new, for example, just going right down here, the Living Dead girl, Abaddon, she has a brand new exclusive Bloodlust shirt that you can get. I think it's practically brand new and fresh off the press per se. So there you go. All right, so we talked about events. Well, if you are unable to attend Rocky Mountain Pro show in person, either due to scheduling or if you're just out of the area but you want to stay in touch and everything else that is going on with Rocky Mountain Pro, you can watch at twitch.tv/Rocky Mountain Pro. You can catch it on the Fight TV app through your phone, your tablet, the Roku TV device, or even through the website at fight.tv. You can also catch Rocky Mountain Pro's shows on the YouTube channel at youtube.com/Rocky Mountain Pro. ImpactPlus.tv app, the website, also available on Roku and other streaming devices. And also Fight Network UK, as well as just the Facebook.com. You can see the videos there as well. There's links there as well. All right. Well, speaking of social media, if you want to follow us and stay up to date with everything happening Rocky Mountain Pro, everything does stem from the website at rmpwrestling.com. And on your social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all with the name of The Rocky MTN Pro. And once again, let me spell that out phonetically for you. That's The Rocky Mike Tango November Pro. And once again, as always, I want to thank you for listening to this edition of RMP Radio, where pro wrestling is elevated.